In today's video, I'm going to see if I can capture wildlife photos with a fully manual lens. I'll be putting the TTArtisan 500mm to the test. No autofocus, no stabilization, just me, some wildlife, and a whole lot of patience. Before we get into the video, I wanted to thank TTArtisan for sending me this lens. This video is not sponsored and they have no say in what I create. So, with that being said, I just wanted to share a couple of the tools that are going to help me get through this challenge. First, my camera has in-body stabilization, which I'll have set to 500mm. This will hopefully allow me to stay more mobile and get some handheld shots with this lens. Second, I'll have focus peaking turned on in my camera. This attempts to highlight everything red when it comes into focus, so that hopefully I capture more sharp images. And with those two things set on my camera, I think we're ready for the first adventure. I thought the best place to start would be back on some familiar trails from earlier this summer, where I had some really good luck photographing birds like the indigo bunting. Although it was a very hot and humid evening. There's an indigo bunting right in front of me, but unfortunately the weather's not cooperating with me. The center of my lens is still completely fogged up. Okay, it's looking a little better. I can try to get some shots now. Oh, there's a common yellowthroat. We were having some fun with those guys last time we were here. The birds are incredibly active right here, so I'm hoping if I crouch down, give it a little bit of time, some of these guys might come in closer. I was finding the focus ring was a bit stiff, so switching quickly between birds that were close and ones that were further away took a little bit of extra effort. But when I did have a bird in range, it was really easy to make fine adjustments. Things were starting to quiet down, so I began to make my way back to the parking lot, keeping an eye out for anything else along the way. I ended up coming across a couple of very active redstarts, and let me tell you, these little guys really put me to the test. I want to get the male redstart. The female was chasing the male around, which made it really tough to get any still shots. And just when I would finally lock that focus, he'd be off to the next branch with her in tow. So most of my photos ended up being out of focus, or of empty branches, and the occasional bird butt. However, before the evening wrapped up, I did manage to find one more cooperative bird, an American goldfinch. After that first outing, I was feeling pretty good about the potential this lens had. Now, this lens comes in at 500 Canadian. It's a pretty solid build, all metal, no weather sealing. The focusing ring is stiff, which is good for fine adjustments, but not so good for fast ones. And although the aperture ring is equally as stiff, I did find I would accidentally bump it at times without realizing. The minimum focusing distance is 3.3 meters. And although in some cases that could be a bit of a drawback, you can still capture some great portraits of the birds. Overall though, I was feeling pretty good about this lens, and I had another adventure in mind. For my next outing, I was hoping to find some herons along the river, since this spot can offer some really great photo opportunities. But instead, I heard the familiar call of another bird, the belted kingfisher, and that changed my plans right away. The kingfisher just flew by. I have no idea why I'm trying to go after it with a manual lens. There he goes. I've seen him land on this tree before, so I could play a patience game today and wait for a perch shot. That would definitely be possible with this and some camouflage. I think he was perched up there. I searched along the river for a good perch the kingfisher might use, and a spot where I could easily set up a camouflage hide. I've seen him perch on this tree a few times and it seems like a pretty good spot. I don't have my regular camo with me, but I do have my new camouflage poncho. It's pretty see-through, but I'm hoping it'll break up my silhouette enough. Alright, I think that was my proof of concept. Now I gotta try to sit as still and quiet as possible for his next return and hope he lands out in the open. I just need to find a way to prop this a little bit higher. I'm thinking if I can adjust this buckle wide enough, maybe I can wrap it around that tree. Alright, I managed to make this work. Clipped around that branch, light knot right there, and now I actually have some height. With everything set up and my focus dialed in, all I had to do now was just wait. Well, I can't believe that worked. I'm so happy we got a shot with this fully manual lens. Wasn't as hard as I thought. About an hour and a half of waiting. That moment with the kingfisher was brief, and the focus peaking in my camera didn't perform too well. That's not the fault of the lens, but being full manual, it was difficult to nail each shot. But hey, kingfishers are one of the most skittish birds I know, so I'm pretty happy I was able to capture a photo. However, I still really wanted a photo of the great blue heron, and I had the perfect spot in mind. Along this stretch of the marsh, you're almost guaranteed to come across a heron. And sure enough, I spotted a few green herons flying low over the water, with one perched just across from me. I quickly set up my tripod and settled in to capture the action. Sure we dial in the focus. That's kind of a nice composition right there. Okay, I think I like this. While watching, I noticed some really interesting behavior I hadn't seen before. The heron kept dropping a small stick into the water over and over again, likely trying to lure fish to the surface. Unfortunately though, it didn't seem to be working, but he kept at it for a while before eventually moving over to another perch, which gave me a few more chances to capture some photos. Hopefully those are sharp. I'm definitely liking this scene right now. Okay, it looks sharp. And he's all highlighted in red, so in theory, he's in focus. I found these photos a little bit difficult to edit. The lighting was harsh, and everything had a green tint from shooting through the plants. But rather than trying to fix it, I decided to lean into the greens and went for a moodier, darker look, which is a bit different from my usual, more natural style. 2 other green herons had flown by. My guy might go chasing after them. I'm curious what the photo looked like. Oh, I actually captured that moment that one flew by. I missed the perfect shot where a dragonfly landed on the end of the stick and he was reaching for it, about to strike. Nope. During this entire time, a kingfisher kept swooping by and harassing the heron, and it seemed like he finally had enough. Alright, so I don't want to miss any more action along the marsh here, so I'm just going to walk the bike, keep the camera out, see what we can find up ahead. A little bit further down the path, I finally found what I'd been hoping for all along, the great blue heron. The conditions still weren't ideal though. The sun was harsh, and I just couldn't capture any of the low angles I wanted. But even so, I made the most of the moment. Great blue herons might just be one of my favorite subjects to photograph. They're full of personality, striking, and sometimes fairly easy to work with. They've taught me a lot about photography, so I was happy to finally find one this summer. Alright, I'm gonna get some handheld shots. Okay, I think this should probably be a good one. He's not really too bothered by sound, so I'm gonna take off silent shutter so I don't get any accidental waviness in the photos. I might wait it out here a second longer just to see if I can get an action shot. I've got the focus good enough at least. Looks like it's good, and he's about to strike. Alright, I'm gonna pack it up. I think I got some good photos of the great blue heron. It's getting hot out here. All in all, I really enjoyed challenging myself with this lens, and I think I came out with some pretty good images too. I shot most of my photos throughout this video at f6.3, even though most reviews would likely tell you to stop this lens down for better results. This lens has a 12 blade aperture, and as far as I can tell, it renders pretty smooth images. Now sure, being a budget lens, you are going to run into some optical issues like chromatic aberration, which is that purple fringing you see around high contrast areas. However, I do think it's manageable in the right conditions, or with a bit of editing. Shooting fully manual these past 2 weeks has been a lot of fun. It really made me slow down and think about each photo. And I think that's a good reminder, no matter what gear you're using. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.